Hi, I'm Ann from Mercer County Library, and this month is National Poetry Month. And the poet that I'm going to talk about today is Edna St. Vincent Millay. The St. Vincent is from St. Vincent's Hospital, where her uncle's life was saved shortly before she was born. And she liked the name Vincent, and that's the name that she liked to be called by her family and friends. And when she was about 8 years old, her father left the family, did not contribute to their financial security after that, and her mother was a nurse and was often away on jobs caring for someone else, and she had the responsibility of herself and her two younger sisters. So at an early age, she became a very responsible person. She always liked to write poetry. She liked to write stories, she liked to play music, and she was also an actress and was successful in all of those occupations. But her main focus became poetry. When she was around 20 years old, she entered a contest, and she didn't win the contest, but her poem, Renaissance was the name of it, really made an impression on literary people and others, and a wealthy woman offered to pay her way through college. So she went to Vassar, where she was quite successful. She kept writing poems. She published a book, and she became part of the literary establishment in New York City, mainly in Greenwich Village, where she lived kind of a bohemian life. She was a very lively person, and she was described as having a very luminous personality. A very famous poem that she wrote that you might have heard before is called First Fig. And this is how it goes. My candle burns at both ends. It will not last the night. But ah, my foes, and oh, my friends, it gives a lovely light. And this was kind of her theme as she was in her early years in New York and in Europe also, where she connected with the literary establishment. She had a lot of romances, and some of them were successful. Some of them she caused heartbreak, and some places her heart was broken. But she was kind of cynical and was kind of known for that in her poems, and it matched the mood of the young people of the 20s after the First World War. And here's a poem that indicates that. It's called The Philosopher. And what are you that, wanting you, I should be kept awake as many nights as there are days with weeping for your sake? And what are you that, missing you as many days as crawl, I should be listening to the wind and looking at the wall? I know a man that's a braver man, and 20 men as kind. And what are you that you should be the one man in my mind? Yet women's ways are witless ways, as any sage will tell. And what am I, that I should love so wisely and so well? And another one called Thursday. And if I loved you Wednesday, well, what is that to you? I do not love you Thursday, so much is true. And why you come complaining is more than I can see. I loved you Wednesday, yes, but what is that to me? So you note a very cynical tone in these two. This early period of the 20s was after World War I, and a famous poem by her called Spring, which is this month also, kind of reflected that. So see what you think when you hear this poem. To what purpose, April, do you return again? Beauty is not enough. You can no longer quiet me with the redness of little leaves opening stickily. I know what I know. The sun is hot on my neck as I observe the spike of the crocus. The smell of the earth is good. It is apparent there is no death. But what does that signify? Not only underground are the brains of men eaten by maggots. Life in itself is nothing. An empty cup, a flight of uncarpeted stairs. It is not enough that yearly down this hill, April comes like an idiot, babbling and strewing flowers. In her early days, she was very much admired by the young people and many of the older people in the country. She gave readings to which people flocked. She wrote a book, a poetry book, that won her the Pulitzer Prize in 1923. And it sold over 50,000 copies, unknown for a poetry book. She met and married Eugene Boissevain at 1923, and he gave up his career to help her, was very considerate and caring husband, and they traveled extensively, went all over the world, and lived a wonderful life. But they bought a house in Upper New York, and on their property, when they were going around a bend in a car, she was sitting next to in the passenger seat. The door opened and she fell out, and thought she wasn't hurt badly, but for the rest of her life she suffered great pain and was hospitalized many times. And she turned to alcohol and to drugs. So the last years of her life, that was part of her life. And he died at age 58, and she lived another year, but then she died by falling down the stairs. She was very well known for her sonnets, so I'm just going to read to end one of her sonnets. She studied the Elizabethan poets and Shakespeare and Petrarch, and molded her sonnets on them. Here's one, Sonnet 4. I shall forget you presently, my dear, so make the most of this, your little day, your little month, your little half a year, ere I forget or die or move away, and we are done forever. By and by I shall forget you, as I said, but now, if you entreat me with your loveliest lie, I will protest you with my favorite vow. I would indeed that love were longer lived, and paths were not so brittle as they are. But so it is, and nature has contrived to struggle on without a break thus far. Whether or not we find what we are seeking is idle, biologically speaking. So that's Edna St. Vincent Millay, and if you go onto the internet, you will find a lot of other poems by her that you might enjoy.